Yes.
The next one, I want to find my soulmate.
I want you to find your soulmate.
Dios mío.
We were just talking about
single.
this.
Oh my God.
And she goes to
possible?
Lifetime Gym. Just saying, if you're in Westchester.
So,
no, I wouldn't approach her if she's at the gym. Welcome to Inside Copy and Art, the podcast. We're so happy to have you, and we're so happy to have our guest, Maria Trusa. So before I intro, I am going to give you a little bit of a warning. This podcast is probably going to talk about issues that are sensitive in nature, including initiatives around awareness on child sexual abuse. I urge you to stay put, but I do have to warn that if any of it makes you uncomfortable, you should know we are tackling it kind of head on here and now today. So you're warned. Maria, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I am so excited to finally do this podcast with you. I know we've talked about it a little while ago, but I'm truly, truly grateful. You know, every time that I am giving a chance to speak, I say that the impact that I'm trying to make in the world before I leave, it's accelerated. So thank you for accelerating the impact for me.
Listen, we will do what we can. I'm just trying to ride the coattails a little bit with you. So I don't know if you know, but Maria is a close friend, and we actually do some work together now. Yes. At Digo no Mas, which I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about. But it's been a pleasure to kind of get to know you through the Westchester Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, yes, which is kind of how we initially connected, although we're also members of the BCW, and we orbit the same circles, we'll say, and orbit each other a lot and have for years. So I'm just thrilled to be here. Inside Copy and Art really wants to tackle a bunch of different initiatives, mostly ones that are close to the business's heart. So marketing, diversity, anything having to do with children, obviously, because we have to pick agendas, and that's certainly an agenda that's close to our heart, and our team's heart. So, and female leadership, if we can kind of stand for that, I'm all about it. So it makes perfect sense that you're here with me and that we're friends. I want you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now with Yo Digo No Mas.
Well, Elena, there are missions in life that come to you, and I'm sure you've been present to this, that you had no clue, that there was a purpose. And for me, some people, I think, die even before they really find their purpose, because life gets in the way. Sure. There is trauma, there's pain that you go through, and then you're missing out on the purpose, because I believe we all have a purpose. So for me, I thought healthcare was my purpose. I was going to provide healthcare for the underserved community with a very strong focus on the undocumented population. So when I turned 50, I had a crisis, and it wasn't a midlife crisis. It was actually a health crisis, and I almost lost my life. And that precipitated a lot of changes in my life. And one of them was that I really started to question, why am I here? If I would have died when I was dying that night, what impact would I have made in the world? And what impact would I have made in my life, my children, and everybody, all the people that I knew, and then the world. So I was already focusing on, do I leave? Do I stay forever where I was at Scarsdale Medical Group? And I was there for 26 years.
Wow, long time.
Long time. And then I decided to leave Scarsdale Medical Group. When I turned 50, I was already gone, and I joined Gina Capelli, my business partner, and we went on, and we'll talk about that journey with Formay. But the reason I was telling you this is that the journey that for me, I thought my impact was going to be healthcare, providing healthcare for the underserved, undocumented population. But then my son asked me to write a book, and that sort of switched everything for me. I didn't realize it when he first said, Mom, you need to write your story. There's so many, especially women, Latina, that can be impacted and that can see that there's hope after trauma. And I said, okay, I was going to do it. And I, especially because I was already taking on, it's like when you're so close to death, you just realize that there's not a lot of time. So now I became obsessed with time. So 2020, the book Yo Digo No Más came out. And when I did the book, I self-published. It wasn't like a book that, I'm going to have everybody read this book. It was more, okay, I fulfilled the what my son had asked me to do. Check. And then I said, and that would stay for my grandkids. And there will be people that will read it. And I know my family and all of that. It ended up that Yo Digo No Más started to take on. And I was asked to do a lot of public speaking engagements. And then I started hearing from so many people that they've been abused, that they were sexually abused when they were kids. And I, the book talks about my trauma. And then I decided, you know what? There's an urgency that I did not know that for me became my biggest purpose, which is build a movement that is going to help survivors speak, tell their story for the first time sometimes. There's a book that I always mention that it says the body keeps a score. In this book, the psychologist says the thing, you are at war with your soul until you break the silence. And there are so many people that have been sexually abused and they die with a secret. And it became my journey of, Yo Digo No Más, break the silence of what I call the silent pandemic of sexual abuse of children, educate to prevent, and then how do we heal? How do we help people to heal?
Sure. So for those of us who don't speak Spanish, yo digo no más means I say no more. So that you understand a little bit about kind of what we're talking about here. So full disclaimer, I'm on the board.
Yes.
Thank you for electing me.
Thank you.
I had an in. And I've been taking this very seriously.
Yes, you have. I'm so grateful for you leading one of our biggest, actually the biggest event, I would say, our gala.
Yes.
Which will be the first gala for Yo Digo No Más.
I am plugging the gala, which is November 29th at CV Rich Mansion. You want to be there. You have to be there. It's certainly going to be a wonderful night. An inspirational night where we're going to get to enjoy, but also raise funds for such an important cause. So it's my honor to be on the board and to serve and to be part of the mission. I think the more people I talk to, the more kind of you see it. Yeah. Interestingly, I was at a seminar last week and the head, Marcus Lemonis, was trying to get people, and he was just trying to get his talk started, but he wanted people to share a secret. And so he asked the audience, 2,500 people in Manhattan. He's like, share a secret. So I'm thinking to myself, these people aren't going to do this. Well, don't you know that every single person that got up said that they were sexually abused? And I thought of you and I was like, wow. Well, the bravery, right, of these people to go up in front of 2,500 strangers. But also the commonality. There are a million secrets we can hold in this world. But like how many people are affected by your mission? So like kudos.
Thank you.
So tell me, this journey for Yo Digo No Más, you have a nonprofit. This is where I'm on the board. We have a gala coming up. Tell me what else this has kind of driven you to experience now in your life.
I realized that, the impact that we can have on each other. And I tell people all the time when people come and share their story with me. And I had to go back to therapy. Because when you're hearing trauma over and over again, it really gets to you. Sure. And you can become sick. The other thing for me is that I have told my story over 500 times. And every time I tell my story, I feel it.
Sure.
And I had to learn, I said, if I'm going to lead this movement, I need to be able to take care of myself, right, physically, emotionally, because otherwise I could get sick. And re-traumatizing yourself over and over again, telling your story. There is healing by telling your story. But
there's
when
also
you're doing it
you're
over
also
and over,
bringing it up again.
It's very difficult. So for me, I feel that I found an amazing therapist that I thought I didn't have a lot more work to do, but she made me realize that, and I think that has been one of the biggest gifts, because I thought that I was doing it more to protect myself from getting sick and being able to hear all the stories and not lose compassion.
Sure.
Because when you're hearing a story over and over again, it happens to doctors, I think, a lot. Doctors that are oncologists, they are hearing stories of cancer, and they're dealing with it, and they see people telling people, you're terminally ill. They become sort of immune to it. And I wanted to make sure that didn't happen to me. Right. So I want that connection to be very deep, but at the same time,
you have to protect yourself.
That I have to protect myself.
Right.
But I've ended up finding so much about me. And one of lately, this happened about 6 months ago, I realized, and this is something that I didn't know, that we all have a body part where we store our trauma. That's, to me, was news.
Okay.
But I think it's something that if people actually talk a little bit more about it, sometimes you would realize that some of the sickness you have is you storing your trauma. I had a situation with my daughter last year. It was very, very hard for me. My daughter went through a horrible mental breakdown, and I was dealing with a lot. And one day I started to have this pain on my right side. And I ended up, to make a long story short, I ended up going to the emergency room 3 times. I am somebody that tolerates pain like you will not believe. Unfortunately, I would say, or maybe fortunate, I don't know. But it's something that from my trauma, I've learned to tolerate pain. So I knew something was really wrong. I mean, my family, everybody was worried because they don't hear me complain. And for me to actually go to the emergency room, there's a problem. So then nothing, they don't find anything wrong with me. I'm having my therapy with my therapist, and I explained to her what happened. And then she said, okay, why don't we do this exercise? And she does a lot of exercises with me that have helped me connect to my body. So when we do this exercise, I immediately started feeling the pain. I was like, oh my God, that's the pain that I was feeling. And then I was able to finally connect this pain that I have felt throughout my entire life. And at times I thought I had cancer. But that time last year, it was at a level that I've never felt it before. And it was when I was raped at the age of 9. I was so brutally raped that I had my right ovary got twisted in my fallopian tube. And I had to have surgery. And that was related to the trauma. I was feeling the pain that I felt when I was 9 years old. And after that, after I identified that, gone. It's been over a year. I have not felt that pain. And there's other areas, like I know another area that for me is a sign that something I'm being triggered so that I could be aware. So we could utilize our trauma, where we store the trauma, as a warning that something is not working.
Right. I think it also stands for kind of what you stand for overall, which is that in shedding light in dark places, you get relief. Mm-hmm. Right? And the pain ceases and the problems can begin to be healed and solved, right? Yeah. So there's something about you knowing that this was related that helped you to heal. And I think that that's kind of what you stand for, among other things, in the community and the world. Certainly what I see in you is your ability to, at sometimes your own personal expense, be so vulnerable that it could affect you in order to enable others to be a little vulnerable, like to start to share. Tell me what that means to you. Tell me, I know a little bit about your future aspirations, but tell me how this book, your son's request, learning what you're learning through this journey, Tell me what it means for your legacy. Like, what are you hoping that this means for you?
Yeah, I love how you put it together. You know, being vulnerable. I want to give everyone the right to be vulnerable. I want, especially we live in an era where we have to pretend. You look at social media, we are all pretending to be what we're not.
Right.
And there is so much pain and darkness in pretending.
Agreed.
So when you get to a vulnerability, it's a major strength.
Yes.
It's a strength
Agreed.
that we need to practice more and more. I realized that as I became vulnerable first, believe it or not, with my children. Telling my children the story of my trauma, sharing with them my weaknesses, telling them how I'm working on being better, sharing with them how I was, I ended up being in love with a married man, things that most people will not share. So the vulnerability started, I think, with my children, and what transpired. It was a transformation of my relationship with my children, where my children saw me as a human being, as someone that made a lot of mistakes, but someone that they saw trying so hard to do the right thing, to change, to understand herself. And I started realizing the power of just being you, that nobody has anything on you. So I think I took it to an extreme level when I ended up doing my book. Because when my kids asked me to do the book, especially Jeffrey's, when he said, Mom, do your book, I said, I'm going to do the book. I told Jeffrey and Franco, because Natasha was little, so she really didn't know what that meant. But I said, I want you to understand that if I'm going to tell my story, I'm going to include the good, the bad, and the ugly. And some of the ugly that you don't even know.
No, right? I was going to say, I doubt they knew everything.
No.
Just based on the fact that.
No. But, to sum it up, because we can talk about this topic a lot, because I'm very big into stop pretending.
Sure.
Be yourself. Talk about your struggles, because we all struggle. Yes. I tell my kids, everybody has darkness, light. Everybody struggles. We all make mistakes. It's making sure you learn from your mistakes.
Right.
And when you become vulnerable, then you don't judge yourself, because you already have shared with people. So it's like almost like you're deflating the judgment by being vulnerable and sharing. So I became addicted to vulnerability and adjustment. Non-judgment, because I realized that the inner peace I have, I want everyone to have this inner
experience
peace.
it, sure.
So for me, I think the biggest lesson and the biggest gift I've gotten is being vulnerable leads to being non-judgmental. Non-judgmental, then you judge less others, because we judge every second. We're judging people.
Right.
So becoming aware that you're judging, and the judgment starts with you first. The more you judge yourself, the more you judge others. Because I can tell you, I'm always being curious. I've transformed judgment for curiosity. Yeah. I'm curious now. Right. What's going on with this person? Not, what are they doing? Look at this one. No, what? Let's be curious. What's going on in each other's life?
Right. And how can you help?
How can we help?
That's the part that's special about you.
That's the beauty. I'm like, wow, to see that other people it's almost like your vulnerability is contagious. Like when people see you being vulnerable, it becomes so easy for them to then be vulnerable with you. So for me, that's tremendous.
Agreed. And I think, one of the things that I think might be a nice transition here is, in our work together with Yo Digo No Mas, one of the things I'm standing for, and you're kind of helping me, is how do we bring Yo Digo No Mas, I Say No More to an English-speaking, English primary audience? right? Because your initial goal, and maybe even still your primary goal, is kind of around Latin American cultures and communities. Understood.
Yeah.
Stats are terrible in our communities. And so I always think about how can I add value to the organization. And even though I'm a Latina, I'm thinking, what if more English speaking Americans and corporations could kind of better understand the goal, the stats, and kind of stand for it, right? Because if there's a little bit of a language divide, my perspective is that we're going to miss some opportunity. Yeah. So one of the things I'm doing with the Gala and we're doing together is to try to kind of open it up to English speaking American corporations and companies, and we need sponsors. So
yes,
sponsors, please.
Well,
so talk to me about that transition, your initial thoughts, and then how do you feel about even what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah. So what I'm realizing more than ever is that sexual abuse of our children, there's no discrimination.
Yeah, it's universal.
It's universal. Happens to little boys, little girls, and it happens to every culture. At the beginning, because I do feel that the Latino community is underserved in so many areas.
Sure.
And I mean, started in the healthcare, I see how underserved they are. When it comes to mental health, we are extremely underserved. So for me, the passion definitely is to continue focusing. And that's why everything I do is bilingual. But I also know that everybody should be involved in this mission. And I'll tell you why. Whether you are affected by sexual abuse of the children, whether you are a survivor or not, it affects you. It affects every business. It affects every family. Because when the innocence gets stolen from a child, it is a damage that is done that is permanent. They have shifted our lives. The innocence is something that is a God-given gift to every child, right? When we're innocent, we see the light. We see, everything is wow. You have a wow factor. When that wow factor gets stolen from you at an early age, and eventually as we grow, we lose, a lot of the wow factor, but there's the process. When that wow factor is stolen from you, you're going to struggle. I know because I went through it.
Sure.
You bring toxic behavior. You're making decisions that hurt you. Then you go to, let's say, you get married to someone that is a survivor. You might not be a survivor, but you're dealing with a survivor. You're dealing with the sexual abuse. As parents, we deal with the sexual abuse. As children, we deal with the sexual abuse. It affects every family. But it doesn't only affect every family. It affects every business.
Well, right, because it's a ripple effect. We are not people who live on islands by ourselves. So any trauma that we carry with us that is unmanaged and handled will be kind of received by every person we come in contact with, period, end of story, or the people that they come in contact with, probably, and that person too. So it does make sense that this is kind of broadening the scope of the mission and the audience.
And that's why, when you talk about the corporate responsibilities, it's a no-brainer. You don't even know. And, creating culture sensitivity, and creating trauma-informed system within every business, it's something that we don't really talk about it because, again, this trauma, especially that affects millions of people, we don't talk about it.
Nobody talks about
it. There's not a lot of support to deal with trauma, but creating a trauma-informed system. And this is where Yo Digo No Mas comes, the awareness that we're bringing out. It's something that it affects every culture, every business, every family. So I'm glad that, you've taken this on and joined me on this journey, because one thing that I know is, I say Yo Digo No Mas, I'm the founder, but I'm not the movement. And for the beginning, I thought I'm responsible for this entire movement, and I'm carrying this movement by myself. And I'm like, financially, I say it openly because people would realize that how invested I am in this movement, that I've put on $1 million of my money into the movement. And it's not my money, because I do believe in God and I'm the instrument, so that he's chosen, and I'm okay. Like, I don't look back and say, oh my God, some people might think I'm crazy, but to me, there's urgency in this matter. But I also know that I cannot do this alone.
Right, sure.
So thank you for joining me on this journey.
It is my honor and
You are one
privilege.
of those angels.
You know what? I got to tell you, I like to tell my kids, nothing big is done alone. Like everything, families are built with multiple people. Corporations are built with multiple people. Friendships involve multiple people. Nothing big is done alone. It might go fast.
I love that.
Right? But nothing big is done alone. I used to be able to say, other things can't be done alone. But today, there are things that can be done alone. But most big things in life require a team, a family, some sort of another system. So one of the agendas that I have personally is just to see how we can bring this movement to greater visibility in English speaking and corporate settings, because a personal agenda of mine, other than this mission, is also corporate culture and embracing diversity, which does include people who have gone through all sorts of things in life. It's not just about ethnic or cultural sensitivities, but it's really embracing the whole human. And the human experience is dirty and can be muddy. And so kind of having a place of understanding for everything that employees will bring into a work environment. I think the benefits to the business are exponential, but also to the employees who will benefit if they're understood. So, there are a lot of reasons why we're doing this. Now, you have a lot of exciting partnerships. I don't know, I'm not going to share. Maybe you share. Talk to our audience about like some of the exciting stuff that you're working on now.
It's funny how life works, because running a business takes a lot from you. So I feel almost like God is leading this, and where he wants me to really focus is how do I continue making an impact, helping people heal, working with elevating Yo Digo No Más movement and taking it to another level. So I ended up being signed up by an agent. So we are working on a new branding. For me, I have a new book that's coming out in September, and it's a parenting book.
This September.
Okay.
Awesome. We're going to pick that up.
Yeah. And for me, this is also a very exciting project, because I really want to make a difference for parents and for the children. I happen to have a beautiful relationship with my family, my boys and my daughter. Amazing. It's actually when I die, I can tell you that the most proud job that I've done is the job of a mother.
100%.
Coming from where I come from, the transformation that I've gone through, the biggest one has been as a mom. So for me to have this book for parents is extremely exciting. I'm working with Goya Cares, which is part of Goya. Everybody knows Goya. Si es Goya, tiene que ser bueno.
Yes.
Everybody knows Goya.
Sorry, you know or you know. Yes.
They've been around for 130 years. And I am very honored to be working with them and doing work in schools. We're doing assemblies. We're doing commercials because Goya Cares fights against sex trafficking. So they are uniting with Yo Digo No Más, which is an amazing collaboration. And I can tell you that there's so much happening. It's so exciting.
Yes, I heard. Yes, I love it. I wanted to tell, but I let her tell. So that's a little bit about the future. And as we're wrapping, I want to know, what does Maria want for the future? I know what you're doing for organizations. I know what you're doing for your mission. I appreciate what you do for the general public, for the boards, for the people you work with. What do you want? What do you see for the next kind of near future and even kind of future for you?
So I have this journal that I do every night, and it's called Today's Magic. And as part of today's magic, it's a routine that I do. I've been doing now for about a year. And as part of the routine, I go to sleep with 10 things that I want in the next 3 years.
Awesome.
And I repeat them. And one is I am an international speaker, and I'm going to the Dominican Republic in September 27th
I was
through
going to say, you've
October
done that
3rd.
already, no?
I've gone there, but not at this level. I mean, I'm going to be on television. It's a media tour. So for 1 week, I'm going to be doing 4 interviews in the capital, in Santiago, in La Vega, in different cities in the Dominican Republic. So that's sort of starting to fulfill that number one, which is I want to be an international speaker, because as an international speaker, my voice and the impact I'm going to make is greater.
Yes.
The next one, I want to find my soulmate.
I want you to find your soulmate.
Dios mío.
We were just talking about
single.
this.
Oh my God.
And she
is
goes
it
to
possible?
Lifetime Gym. Just saying, if you're in Westchester.
So-
no, I wouldn't approach her if she's at the gym. She's
I'm very
serious.
focused,
She's
yeah.
serious at the gym. I love it.
But so a soulmate, the next one is that I have written a book, a parenting book. The next one is that Yo Digo No Más has become a worldwide movement, that I have my beach house. I want to buy a beach house
Where?
in the next 3
Do
years.
we know what beach?
I want it to be 2 hours, more or less 2 hours away. I'm starting to look. A few people have given me a few places where I'm going to start looking with my kids. And I have a home in Vermont that I love. It's called Escapo, which means to escape. And you have been invited.
Yes, I know.
This year, you're going to go.
It's on camera.
It's on camera.
It's on camera.
So Escapo, I want to renovate it. So I'm starting actually next month. We're doing some of the renovation. And next year, I want to build this huge, great room. So I have all of this vision. And by the way, in the house by the beach, I'm going to have rocking chairs, because I'm very clear of how I want to continue to get older and enjoy my life, which is building those rocking chair memories that as I get so old that I'm not able to do an Ironman or a marathon, that I invite people to come and just live off the memories that I've created with what I call rocking chair memories. And that's the key. When you let go of the trauma and you forgive and you go through the healing journey, then you concentrate on creating these rocking chair memories. When you have rocking chair memories that are based on victim, on trauma, on hate, on resentment, all of those negative emotions, how sad.
Right.
How sad to be able to, to live the rest of your later years based on those memories. So I'm very focused. I understand exactly what I want, and I manifest it every day.
Oh, I know you do. I was driving my son to Iona Prep this morning. He is just starting there. And I said to him, one of the biggest problems with most people is that they can't articulate what they want. And that absolutely ends up being one of the biggest reasons why they don't get it. So what are the chances that you're going to hit a target that you're not actually aiming at? 0. And so one of my favorite parts about you is that I asked you, do you know what you want? And you started naming your goals. I mean, like, boom, 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 boom. And so when people see you achieve them, nobody should be surprised.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you want. And it doesn't mean that we can't kind of change course or add another, right? But I mean, the power of asking and ye shall receive. I mean, it's on point here. And I think one of the things you started to say was that, once you start the healing from whatever your life's trauma is, and you went in a different direction, but what it made me think was you get to live your best life. Yeah. And I think you're really an example of someone who has turned pain into power. Yeah. And that's one of my favorite concepts in life. I look for every opportunity to turn pain into power. That could be in business, that could be in a relationship, that could be in any interaction where I feel pain. It's
beautiful.
That's a moment.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity to turn it into some sort of power. But I think like, are you a goddess in this area? Yes. So well done. And thank you for sharing. It's always fun talking to you, and we're gonna be talking quite a bit, but hopefully you'll come back and you'll tell us a little bit more about this book. Can you share the name or not yet?
Not yet. Okay. Because we think we got it, but we're sort of double checking, triple checking that nobody has it.
Then you,
but
then
it
you have
is
to
a
come back.
parenting book.
Then you have to come back.
Yes,
and it's going to be by Maria Trusa. So thank you so much for joining us.
Elena.
It's a privilege to have you here talking to us, and I hope you enjoyed. You're going to go to the gala. You're going to buy the book, and you're going to set some goals for yourself. And we're going to start to heal whatever traumas might be kind of gripping you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Let's help everyone get their wow back. That's how I feel. I got my wow back. Everything is wow for me.
I want my wow. I want to find my wow.
Let's become kids again with, obviously, a lot more experience.
And intellect, yes.
Yes.
This is Inside Copy and Art. Thanks for joining us.